So we just did some problems that were really more like proportion problems, which we'll do a lot more of in the next section. But just in general, most ratio problems are just going to be really a matter of either stating ratios or just simplifying them. So for instance, if I gave you a ratio of $10 to $45, right? Well, what would that reduce to? Well, I know that 5 will go into both of those numbers, right? 10 is 2 times 5, 45 is 9 times 5. So this is actually going to reduce to 2 to 9, right? And the thing to note here is these dollar signs, since they appear both in the numerator and the denominator, they're going to cancel, right? And that was one of the things about ratios that we probably didn't really mention in the original video. They don't have units in them because the units are measured in this, they're measured in the same units, right? So these are both dollars, so the dollars are going to be canceled. So the actual ratio has no units in it, okay? Because you're comparing quantities that are measured in the same units. Now, when you're dealing with different units, you no longer call it a ratio, but you call it a rate. Okay. So in a lot of cases with rates, rather than saying to, right, the word to, you're actually going to say the word per. So like in this case, express the rate in simplest form, 240 miles per 8 gallons, right? You could again say to, but I would probably prefer you to say per here, right? So what's 240 miles per 8 gallons? Well, I could write this out as 240 miles in a fraction form per 8 gallons. And in this case, miles and gallons, they're not the same units. So when I reduce this ratio, I'm still going to have miles up here and gallons down there. And then I'm just going to do my, simplifying here. So 240 over 8. Well, 8 will go into both of these, right? 240 is 8 times 30, and 8 is 8 times 1. So this is just going to reduce to 30 over 1. So 30 miles per 1 gallon, or you could just write this as 30 mpg, right? Because ratios that are like commonly used, like miles per gallon, miles per hour, you could just write them as mpg, mph, because it's generally known what they stand for. But you could always also just write it out in the fraction form if you wish, 30 miles per 1 gallon. And then sometimes you have a little bit more complicated ones where the numbers aren't like nice values, right? So like if I have a ratio of 1.2 to 7, well, what do I do with that? Well, if you have a calculator, you could just, do the division and then turn it back into a fraction. But without a calculator, what you'd probably want to do is think of this as, all right, well, I can turn 1.2 into 12 by multiplying by 10, right? So you can multiply by 10, and this would become 12 over 70. And then you would say, all right, well, I know that 2 will go into both of them, right? Because they're both even. So 2 will go into 12 6 times, and 2 will go into 70 35 times. So 6 to 35, and actually that's going to be in simplest form now. So this ratio in simplest form is actually 6 to 35. So there I just multiply the top and the bottom by 10. Right? And then B is similar, except here you have two decimal places, so you're going to want to multiply by 100. So 1.25 would become 125, and 4.5 would actually become 450. And now since both of these end in 25 and 50, 25 will go into both of them evenly. So 25 will go into 125 5 times, right? There's 5 quarters and $1.25, and then 25 will go into 450 18 times, right? There's 18 quarters and $4.50. So it's 5 to 18 ratio. Okay. And then in the cases of these are now rates, not ratios, because they have different units, right? Miles per hour, teaspoons per pound. And then, so here you could actually use your rule about, all right, well, what is fraction division? 40 divided by 2/3 is really keep change flip, right? 40 times 3 over 2. And then what's 40 times 3 over 2 going to be? Well, I could do my cross canceling. 40 over 2 is 20, and then 20 times 3 is going to give me 60. So this is 60 miles per 1 hour. And again, this is one that you could just write 60 mph on, because miles per hour is a very commonly known ratio. And then this would be similar, right? It's again fraction division. So this is really 2.5 divided by 3 1/3. But 2.5 is 5 over 2. And then 3 1/3 is 10/3. So this is going to become 5 over 2 times 3 over 10. And then one more time, cross cancel. 5 over 10 is 1 over 2. So then this thing is going to actually be 3. And teaspoons was in the top. Per 2 times 2 is 4. 4 pounds. So 3 teaspoons per 4 pounds. So that's your simplified rate in that case. And that's it.